Ooh. So just to review about what we've covered, the Federal Reserve has the role of the check clearer. That's when it transfers money from one bank to another. And here, I'll put us back on screen share now. All right. So it's the check clearer that transfers money from one bank to another. And it's the one that makes sure that each bank keeps their account stable and balanced. So no bank just says, yeah, add money to your account, but I'm not going to deduct it from mine. So they're the ones that clear checks. We've covered that already. The Federal Reserve is also the central bank of the United States, which means it's a bank to which other banks can get loans from. So when big banks need money, they go to the Federal Reserve. And for this reason, the Federal Reserve is considered to be the lender of last resort. That means that up here where it is, you get loans. If Bank of America needs loans from the Federal Reserve, guys, you really need to mute your microphones. All right.
Mr. Wadsmith, I have another Zoom meeting at 10. What do I do about that?
What class is it? I'm not talking about that right now. What I need to do is kind of cover this stuff. Okay. So I'll just kind of leave you there. Your guys are going to have to make choices. Social studies has from 9:55 to 9:40. Okay. So I'm on my time frame. I'm assuming you have another social studies class. This is a class about choice. So hopefully you guys do understand that that's how things are essentially going to work. But I'm recording this, and I started recording a moment ago. So you definitely got the first part, and you should be able to get the rest later if you need to go. Make sure you guys do take your quiz, your attendance quiz. All right. So the Fed's a lender of last resort. That means if Bank of America needs a loan, where Bank of America is going to go to get a loan is another bank. They want to go ahead and go to Wells Fargo. They want to go to Citi or Chase, and they're going to get a loan from those big banks. Now, if Bank of America needs a loan really badly, they're running really low on reserves, they might collapse, and none of the other banks want to give them a loan, what the Federal Reserve can do is they will loan Bank of America money, and almost an unlimited amount at what we'll call the discount rate, which is something we'll get into later. So that means if Bank of America is about to collapse, the Federal Reserve's job is to step in and kind of give them a loan to make sure they can keep running so that the banks don't collapse, which is something that we covered how bad that is when we were covering how banks work. So let's go ahead and move on to what are reserves. So reserves are the amount of money that a bank needs to hold on to and cannot lend out. We covered that when we covered fractional reserve banking. So what a bank does, remember, when you give them money, they don't hold on to all your money. They hold on to a little bit of it, and then they loan the rest out. So the amount they hold on to and do not lend out is called reserves. So going back, reserves are money that a bank holds on to and does not lend out. All right, which is this. The amount of reserves a bank's required to hold on to, though, and not lend out, that's what we'll go here, is called the reserve requirement. So the reserve requirement is the required amount of reserves. So if a bank holds on to 10% and that's their requirement, they're holding on to the smallest amount allowable. But if they felt like it and wanted to hold more money in reserves, they could hold on to 15% or 20 or 30. But it's the amount of money they're holding on to and do not lend out. Usually banks, when they get money, they lend it out pretty quickly. So reserves are money that a bank holds on to and don't lend out. That's what reserves are. But a required reserve is money that a bank holds on to is not lend out. But since they're required, this is called the reserve requirement right here. Okay. Hey, click clack, mute your microphone. All right. So the reserve requirement also plays a role in how stable or unstable a bank is. So we've reviewed this again. A bank with a small reserve is considered to be less stable okay? If they're holding on to small amounts of money, that means small amounts of their customers could come in, try to ask for all their money, and the bank will run out fast because they're holding on to small amount of reserves. So it could make the bank less stable, but since a bank can loan more money out, they can also be more profitable. So a bank can be less stable and more profitable. However, if a bank has large reserves, then it's going to be considered to be more stable because now it's holding on to more money. So if more customers try to take their money out, it can dip into their larger reserves, give that money out to people, and therefore they'll be able to more likely remain in business and not go bankrupt. However, if they're holding on to more money and not lending as much out, they would be less profitable. So it's a give and take. The Federal Reserve is in charge of this. They set the reserve requirement. So it's really up to them to decide what is going on and how much of a reserve they want to hold. Okay, so with that, do any of you guys have any questions? You can unmute and ask, or even better, raise your hand and I'll call on you.
Mr. Wallsmith.
Yeah, Jorge?
Okay, so I think I missed like 2 or 3 blanks up at the top. Would it be like at the end of the lesson after you're done?
Yeah, we won't do that right now. We're going to get through the whole thing. It's being recorded. You can always go back and check on that.
Perfect, thank you.
And this is all review for everyone, including Dr. Azavi's students. You guys also have covered this. So you can probably figure it out if you take a moment. But it's been recorded. Anyone else have questions?
I have one.
Okay. Yeah. What is it?
So would smaller banks then have like a lower interest rate or a higher interest rate than, say, a bank with a larger reserve?
Okay. Are you referring to the interest rate the bank charges for a loan, the amount they're giving for an account, or are you just referring to the reserve requirement?
So like if a bank has a small reserve, would their interest rate for a loan be higher than a bank with a low or larger reserve?
More in theory, if reserves are lower, the bank can give out more money and remain profitable. Therefore, they would, in theory, offer a lower interest rate because they have more money to give out. And how do I find people who want that loan? I lower my interest rate.
Okay.
A good question. All right. Anyone else have a question? DJ.
I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. I'm going to move on then to how the Federal Reserve controls the money supply. All right. So what the money supply is this, and we'll go to the kind of the bottom or lower part of the worksheet here. So how can the reserve requirement be used to control the money supply? Well, first off, we need to understand, what we need to do is understand exactly what the money supply is. So let me go ahead and go back to the PDF here. Oops. So the supply of money in the United States is constant. There's a certain amount of money that is out there that we use all the time. Who controls the money supply? That's the Federal Reserve. They're in charge of what we call monetary policy, which is the money policy of the United States. So what the money supply is this. It's something that the Fed uses to control interest rates. It controls how much loans, how much investment spending is out there. So the money supply, and that's what's kind of going into this bank, is all the money circulating in the economy. So it's a very, very simple thing. It's how much money is out there. Now, what does the Fed use to measure it? Well, they use 2 different things to measure it. They use something called M1 and M2. So first thing we're going to cover is M1, which is right here. There's 3 things that M1 consists of. So what M1 is something to write down or to just get in your mind. It's all money that's very, very liquid. And what liquid means, it's easily spent, as in it can be spent like that. So if you want to think just for a moment, what are some types of money that you could spend immediately, like right now? And there's 3 of them.
Credit.
So the first type of money in M1 is physical currency. You're thinking of it as cash, but cash can also be referred to digital or like online money too. So physical currency is the paper money that you have in your pocket and in your wallet. It's coins, it's paper bills. So if you ask yourself, how long would it take for you to spend a $5 bill? The answer is you could spend it immediately. So it goes into M1. Okay? The other type of money that you can spend immediately is something that you guys are probably all thinking of, which is money in your checking account, or what we call demand deposits. Now, demand deposits is the word used. Sometimes they call it checkable deposits. I prefer checkable deposits, but the book and the test tend to stick with demand deposits. They're the same thing, so you don't really have to learn like, oh, what's the difference? What that is money in your checking account. As in, if you had your debit card and you swiped your debit card, how long would it take for that money to be spent? The answer is immediately. You can take money out of your checking account right now and spend it. So it's perfectly liquid, therefore it's M1, all right? And the third type of money here is something called traveler's checks. And what a traveler's check is it's a type of money that I know you guys don't have a lot of experience with, but let me try to explain it to you. When I was your age and traveling, ATMs weren't as prevalent. And if you want to go back to like the 70s or 60s where online money was not a thing, if you traveled to another city, the only way you could spend money is if you brought it with you in physical cash, which means tourists would sometimes get targeted to be robbed or mugged. And what happens if I just ran out of money as I'm paying my hotel bill and my car rental and buying all my meals? If I ran out, I'd have to call someone back home, have them go to my bank, wire money electronically, which caused a high fee, go to that physical like money location, like a Western Union, to get it. And that's the only other way I could get money, which would be very difficult, very hard to do. So I'd have to bring a lot of cash. And if I lost that cash or if it was stolen, I'd be in a lot of trouble. So what traveler's checks here do is you would, before your trip, go to a bank and they give you this booklet of a whole bunch of what's called traveler's checks. They're very elaborate. They have holograms and all kinds of etching, and you'd sign one of the blanks for each one. So on that whole booklet, you go through it and sign one of the blanks. There's 2 blanks on each one. When I go to spend it, I'd rip out my $50 traveler's check. I'd sign the other blank in front of the cashier and I'd give it to him. And when he would take that, he'd go, cool, this is just like $50. I can go ahead and put that in his till. He'd give me change if needed, and it would work just like cash. Now, I know nowadays that debit cards and credit cards, everyone has them, everyone uses them. ATMs are everywhere and interconnected. So odds are you guys have never seen or used a traveler's check, but they were something that was popular and they do count as M1. So remember, M1 consists of physical currency. It consists of demand deposits, which is your checking account, and it consists of traveler's checks. The other thing that the Federal Reserve uses to measure the money supply is something called M2. M2 is first, it consists of all of M1 and what we call near monies, money that can be spent quickly but not right now. So M2 consists of all of M1 and 3 more things. So the first thing that is in M2 is money that you could spend, let's say today, but not right now, would be money in your savings account. Money in your savings account is not meant to be spent immediately. To spend money in your savings account, you first need to go to your bank or at least go online and take money out of your savings account, and you can put it in your checking account or ask for it in cash. But that means if I said, give me $100 from your savings account right now, or if you were at a store trying to spend money in your savings account, you can't do that. You'd have to move it somewhere else first. So while it's pretty liquid, it's not immediately or perfectly liquid because you have to do something before you can spend it. So the first type is money in your savings account. The next type of money that is M1 is what's called money market accounts. This is money that you give to the bank and they take it and they essentially loan it to other banks. So there's kind of a market for money. And they'll pay you an interest rate on that. So they'll actually give you sometimes close to 2% interest to leave your money there. Now, if you want, you could go to the bank today, and you could ask if the banks were open. And you could say, hey, I would like that money in my money market account, and I'd like it cash or put in my checking account. And they would that day. But it would take a little bit of time, which means you can't spend it right now, but you can spend it fairly quickly. So we have savings account, money market account, and this one is other timed deposits. So what a timed deposit is something like a CD. Now, a CD is a certificate of deposit. What a certificate of deposit is it's pretty much you give the bank money, and the bank's going to hold on to that money for a certain amount of time that you agree upon. So you can have a 1-month CD, a 3-month CD, a 6-month CD. You can have a year, 2-year CDs. The longer you let the bank hold your money, the more of it they're going to loan out and the more interest they will pay you. Now, you could go to the bank today if you had a CD and say, I'd like my money today, and they would give it to you. But they deduct some of your interest that they owed you or not pay you any at all. So the point of a CD is kind of to put your money there, wait for the CD to mature, and get your money out. And a little pro tip for some financial literacy for you guys. If you're saving money up right now for college, probably the best place for you to put your money right now is in a CD, because it'll pay you a higher interest rate and it's meant to not be touched. So if you're like, I'm not going to touch that money for 6 months, go to the bank and get a 6-month CD and they'll pay you money to hold on to your money. So real quick, M2 consists of all of M1, as well as savings accounts, money market accounts, and other time deposits like certificate of deposits, also known as a CD. Now, if I were to ask you what's bigger, M1 or M2, this should be a pretty easy question, because it must be M2. Because M2 consists of all of M1 plus these things, and it's actually usually many times larger than M1. So if M1, if you take money from your checking account and you put in a savings account, M1 would get smaller, but M2, and here's where it's tricky, would remain the same because it already includes everything in M1. So sometimes you get little tricky questions there, just something to you to think of, that if you put money from your savings account and tried to cash it, M2 wouldn't change because you took the money from M2 and put into M1. So if $100 disappeared from here and went here into cash, M1 got $100 bigger. So while M2 went down 100, M1 went up 100. And since M2 is M1 and M2, it stayed the same amount. So usually when you go from M1 to M2 or M2 to M1, M2 always stays the same, and M1 will be the item or number that changes. All right, and to the bottom part of this, something we need to understand, a very important part of monetary policy here is this, and it is if there's an increase in the money supply, this could increase what? So start thinking, and I know a lot of you guys know the answer to this. If I increase the money supply, that would cause an increase in inflation. As in, if the government, or the Federal Reserve for this matter, prints money and starts putting more and more money out there, think about it. If they put more money in the economy, more people have money. And if more people have money, they will spend that, more money. And if they spend that more money, then they'll buy more stuff. Stores will run out of things. And if stores are running out of things, the next time they restock, they're going to raise their prices. And since all stores start raising their prices, that's what inflation is. It's when price levels go up and your money decreases in value. So if there's an increase in the money supply, this could increase inflation. And if there is a decrease in the money supply, for example, the Federal Reserve took money out of the economy, then this could reduce inflation. So the Federal Reserve controls the inflation rate of the United States. If inflation's too low, they'll pump money into the economy. If inflation rate's too high, they can take money out of the economy. So before I get into questions, just to kind of tell you guys, what we'll be doing Wednesday is filling up this one, okay? This deals with the 3 tools of the Federal Reserve and how the Federal Reserve, also known as the Fed, not the feds. Feds are federal law enforcement. The Fed is not a law enforcement agency. So the Fed, how it controls inflation. And that's with the reserve requirement. It's with open market operations. And it's with something called the discount rate. And you guys are going to need to know how to use particularly the discount rate for a game that you guys are going to have to play and win. So with that, does anyone have any questions about what we covered?
You said this is due on April 6th, right? Or no?
Oh, no. This is due on the 2nd.
The 2nd. Oh, but the late buy is April 6th.
Right. It is a late buy
Right, yeah,
Monday.
right.
So remember, when do you want to get this done and turned in? The answer
April
is
2nd.
Thursday. If you remember, if you turn something in by the due by date, I can help you. I can let you resubmit. And if you have any problems, we can get them done. But don't wait to the late buy date, because the late buy date is your cushion. So if you have a problem on Wednesday submitting it, say, Mr. Wasman, I'm having trouble, I'll get right back to you. We'll solve it, and you'll definitely get it in by the late buy date. If you
Mr. Wasmith?
Hold on, Mike. Let me just go ahead and mute you real quick. However, if you guys are turning something in by the due by date, I can help you. But if it's after the due by date, I won't be able to help you. So if you're going, I don't know how to submit this PDF, I'm clicking, I turned in a blank assignment. Well, now it's too late. And when you resubmit it after the late by date, a few points will be deducted for that. So, okay. Hey, Mike, what were you saying?
Yeah. So like, are we graduating? Cause like, do we have to do schoolwork? Like, I just joined this like 10 minutes ago, but I'm confused on what's going on. Like, what do we have
We're
to
in
turn
school right now, Mike.
Are you serious?
You have work to
all
do.
my
You
classes
need
have Zoom? Like, all my classes are on Zoom right now?
right now, no. Mike, did you take the whole last week off? Did you not look at anything?
I thought we had the spring break Corona thing, like the
Yeah, that
virus.
was the week before. Last week was you had an assignment that we worked on. Make sure you check those videos because that.
Wait, are you putting in grades though? Are you putting in grades though?
Yeah, Mike. Just Mike. Look at this. Are you looking at the screen or like your camera?
Oh,
'Cause I think you're
is
video
it
gaming
done,
right now, right?
It says done speaking, and then there's the big orange
All right.
circle.
So Mike, we're in
Yeah.
school. Grades are being assessed. Attendance is being taken. Make sure you're keeping up on everything.
Are you serious?
I am
Okay,
dead
I got
serious.
you. I got you. Can like, where is the assignments located?
On Edsby, all of them.
All right, is this lesson over?
Yeah, you can leave if you'd like.
All right,
I have
thank
a
you.
question.
All right. So who has another question? Was that Hattie?
Yeah. When is the coronavirus assignment is due?
It was due last Friday. It is a late buy tomorrow. So if you haven't submitted it, make sure that you do.
Okay.
But I have videos on how to do it on your phone, how to do it on your computer with Chrome, how to do it on your computer with Adobe. So if you haven't done anything yet, now you put yourself in a tough situation where you need to make sure you do it correctly. Because now you really need to focus on doing it right because you've given away a full week of a cushion. So does that, do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I got 2 questions.
All right. Who has a question next?
I got 2.
Yeah. When you say I, keep in mind I'm looking at 100 people. So
Matt.
is that Matt?
That is, yeah.
All right, Matt. Gabe, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I am.
I'll get to you in a sec then. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Matt.
All right. So when the Federal Reserve prints money, where does that money go? Does it go to certain banks?
That is exactly what we're covering on Wednesday. They have a bunch of ways they can increase the money or print money. And essentially, due to monetary policy and Keynesian policy, all they want to do is get the money into the economy. The idea was maybe they should just fly planes over cities and drop it out. And that would be just as effective. But they tend to go ahead and go through the banking system to put it out. We'll talk about how open market operations, discount rate, and also the reserve requirement essentially increase the money or decrease the money
Okay.
supply.
All right. And also, on the PDF filler, when you press done, does that allow you to download the fill template into PDF on your drive, or does that submit it online?
No, that does not submit it. You need to save it and upload it to Edsby, and that's exactly how the video shows you need to do that.
Okay.
So always keep your own copy. And the best thing is, if you were filling out this today, if you did it on Adobe, you could hit save and then come right back to it on Thursday.
Okay. Because I have it on PDF filler, so how do I extract this?
Well, in that case, I would download it if I were you.
Okay.
Or you can try to email it to yourself, but you might have to fill it all back out again, which will probably take you like 3 minutes if you have all the answers already saved.
Yeah, because I have it filled out.
So if you want to do that, that's great and that'll work.
Okay.
All right, Gabe?
So like, how does a bank take money away from, like, I mean, the Federal Reserve, how do they take money away from the economy? Like,
That's what we're covering on Thursday. With the one way they can literally pull money out of the economy is with open market operations and the selling of bonds. So they can actually just buy or they can sell bonds to banks. And so the banks have bonds and the Fed now has money. But the other thing they can do is tinker with the reserve requirement, which means, remember how we said banks can create money by what the reserve requirement is? That's one way, and the discount rate. If they make it more expensive for banks to loan money, banks will loan less, there'll be less money. If they make it easier, the opposite will happen. But I'll get much more into detail because that is all what we're covering Wednesday, the whole class. Good?
Okay, yeah. Can I go to my other Zoom class now? Like,
Yep.
am I good to
Just make sure all of you have taken the attendance quiz, okay? It'll take you less than a minute. So that's how I'm taking attendance, and it is a grade. So.
And what do you search up in the PDF filler, like to get the document? It's not popping up.
What do you search in the PDF? You click on the link.
On the link, I don't see the link in Edsby.
Who is this? Who is DG?
It's Eli. The name is messed up.
Okay, all right. I'm like, I do not know who you are. Okay, so if you're using PDF filler, go to Edsby or in theory, the link that I sent you guys. Let me just double check it really quick.
The link on Edsby is not clickable.
It is for me.
That's weird.
All right, I'll try to put it back on. All you should have to do is click on the link, and there should be like a box for it at the bottom that you can click on too.
Yeah,
so,
I couldn't click it either, but I copied it.
Okay,
You can
real
just
quick
copy
here,
it
guys.
on the bar.
Before everyone talks, no, I can't hear you if you're all talking. So just real quick, are you guys clicking on the link on the assignment or the link that I copied and pasted?
The link
Zoom meeting.
The link doesn't. It's not clickable.
Right, for the assignment or for
the PDF filler link.
Yeah, you didn't answer my question.
What do you mean?
The
Okay,
assignment.
I'll go and post the link again. Not hard at all. So just make sure you can look for it then. Should be.
So this assignment is not done until you cover the next.
Correct. That's why I've been recording this, and I'll let you guys kind of have access to it so you can kind of see what's going on. And you should have access to this video then too.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, Skip, I see your hands up.
Yeah, so back to like the deflation, inflation, then like federal government printing money thing. So I saw something on the news recently that they said they were printing more money. Is that because of the coronavirus? Is there like actually deflation right now? Is that like actually happening?
Well, monetary policy can also be used to stimulate the economy. And that's something we're going to spend a little bit of time on maybe next week, where I have a bunch of articles about what's happening now. Right now it is maybe the most bonkers time ever in the history of the Federal Reserve. They are absolutely pumping money into the economy at a relentless rate. They are doing things they've never done before to get money in the economy, to spur the economy. And yes, that is related to
like
the
$3 trillion or something like that.
What's that?
Isn't it like $3 trillion or something like that?
For now, it's going to probably go up. I'll get more into it once you understand how all the tools work. But yeah, there are a lot of very interesting things happening right now.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, guys. Good luck, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday to go over how to. Oh, DJ, you have your hand up?
Yeah. In your opinion, how do you think they're handling this situation, like economy-wise?
Who's they?
The government. Because aren't they the one that's telling the Federal Reserve to print the money and?
No, the Federal Reserve is a quasi-governmental agency, as in they act independently of the government. If you were paying attention to the news, the president was saying the Fed's, before the coronavirus, he was always saying the Fed's terrible, the Fed's not doing good things, the Fed's ruining everything. And, well, the Fed didn't listen to him because they're not supposed to. They're supposed to do what's best for the monetary policy and do it independently on what Congress or the president say. The federal government is doing something called fiscal policy, which is what we're going to be covering on Thursday and Friday of next week. So the government and the Fed are on all cylinders responding to this. And by Keynesian economic theory, they are acting correctly. However, remember, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So trying to help the economy now means we're kind of going to have to pay for it later. So I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong at all. I'm saying everything has a cost. So if they did nothing, we'd pay it now. If they did a lot, which they are, we pay later. What's the right answer? Well, if you're Keynesian, what they're doing now is exactly $2 trillion spending bill, $3 trillion of new money entered into the economy. But we're going to, this is an absolute perfect time to cover current events because it's exactly what's going on in our class.
Okay, thank you.
Question. All right, anyone else have a question? Miss Simmons, do you have a question?
Attendance, is it a daily thing or only when we have Zoom class?
Attendance is a daily thing. Being here is not your attendance. Your attendance is taken by going on to EDSB. There's an attendance quiz for today, so look for 3:30. You go on there and you go ahead and simply answer the question, or questions as will eventually be. I believe today's question is, did I check EDSB today? Yes, no. I'm taking the quiz, but I didn't check EDSB. Don't pick the last one. Just say, yes, I checked EDSB. This is a grade. It automatically grades and populates, and it's how I'm taking attendance. So go on, take the quiz, and you're done. But remember, you only have until, I believe it's 11:30 at night and 3:00 p.m. on Friday to get this all done. So if you're not going to be on the Zoom meeting, you can do it before the Zoom meeting. Several people already have. You can do it after the Zoom meeting. You can do it, right after dinner. Just make sure you do it before 11:30 p.m. and 3 p.m. on Friday. I have to make Friday earlier due to that I have to submit attendance on that day. Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Yep, this is Hadi again.
Okay.
Anyway, how do I submit it? Like, I don't understand what is the assignment is.
How do you submit what?
Like, what is the assignment? I cannot find the assignment in EDSB.
If you go into EDSB, there's an assignment and it says the Federal Reserve. Are you talking about the coronavirus one?
Yeah, the coronavirus.
You're going to have to scroll down because I posted that a while ago.
Like 5 days ago?
Yeah, I posted it on Monday.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you scroll down, that assignment is there for sure.
Then I submit it in the.
Yeah, you hit the submit button, like that blue button right by the assignment, and submit it right there. Most of you guys, I'm looking at a lot of the names here, and a lot of you guys have submitted it. You guys have all seen the feedback I've given you. Some people have even resubmitted it to bring their grade up. Awesome. Great work.
Is it the quiz or the test?
The attendance, you need to do the attendance one too. So if you've done nothing all of last week, you now have some stuff to do.
Okay.
So, any other questions? All
right,
guys.
Schools,
okay, one quick one.
Canceled to April 30th.
Say it again.
Has school been canceled till April 30th now?
I have not heard that. I know the government put guidelines saying that in theory it should be. So I'm not going to tell you something incorrect, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. All right. Well, guys, my time is up. I bet some of you guys have other meetings you need to go to. If you have questions, please send me messages on Edsby, and make sure that especially you ask them early. I'll fix the link right now and make sure everything's straight. And I look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday. Bye, everyone.